What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the #1 rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework, you know what I mean?
But this fight, I'm telling you, it's a flip of a coin.
We did not tap.
Let's go! Let's go!
UFC 280 is finally here. We've been chomping at the bit for at least half a year as this card started to form. Pretty excited that it is finally, right on our doorstep. Breaking down the card was, pretty fun. More or less, you just got to watch as a fan and watch some old fights, some of your favorites. Yeah, and I mean, for me, there's going to be quite a few stay-offs on this one, but I'm still going to pick a side no matter what. Put my balls on the table, so to speak, Mr. Anik. So let's take a look at the first matchup on the night. And we have Charles Oliveira against Islam Makhachev. Man, Charles Oliveira, 33-8-0, 1 no contest, and Islam Makhachev, 22-1-0. This is definitely shaping up to be possibly one of the greatest cards and main events possibly that the UFC has ever had. Now, I mean, it could end up being that Makhachev just smothers him on the ground until eventually he puts him out or just holds him down for 5 rounds. That could happen. It could be boring as hell, but I don't know if Charlie Olives is going to bring that, that to the table and not bring some firepower to fire back. But man, I go back and forth on this one. I think right now, let's take a look where the line is currently sitting at. So I know he was sitting around plus 155 a little bit earlier today. As the dog in Charlie Olives. Yeah, it's plus 155. And I mean, I don't know if there's enough value there yet. I think that if it did creep up a little bit more, it's definitely worth a shot just with the avenues that Charles Oliveira has. He does have the striking advantage, in my opinion. He does have an opportunity to grab an arm or whatever else. I don't know if the sub is there as much as some people are actually leaning into. I just think someone who plays such a top-heavy, wrestle-heavy, very sound game, I don't see Makhachev making any mistakes where he's going to get subbed. He doesn't really run chaos like that. He's calculated and controlled. I think he loses this on the feet. If there's a sub, it's because he's been like knocked out almost and Charlie jumps on something. I don't see, if you think Makhachev's going to win a lot of control time in this and you're looking for Charlie Olive's like sub in desperation, I just don't see that happening. I think it's going to be, if this plays out on the feet, if you think you can get back on the feet more, then you can take a shot at him. But if Makhachev runs control time on top, I just don't see it. What's your thoughts on this? I think clean and concise Makhachev's the pick, but as the value gets more and more, I'm leaning to take a shot at Charlie Olives. But really for me, that just tells me I'll probably just stay away from it altogether.
Yeah, it's definitely like in all fairness, for being a main event, as you and I like to do, it's a pretty easy hedge spot at the end of the day. Ultimately though, my pick will be Charles in this one. I just feel like that the Islam's path to the title has been kind of catered to him. I don't necessarily think this is the greatest stylistic matchup for him. If you look at the last couple of fights he's had, like fighting guys like Dan Hooker, guys that don't generally have the greatest ground game, I don't think that he's really encountered a lot of guys with these types of things. And as you said, like the striking is going to be Charlie all day. And if it hits the ground, we've seen a lot of times where judges don't necessarily reward Islam style of fighting. And I think Oliveira, obviously being the champion and stuff like that, is going to be eager to get back up to his feet. And if anything, could potentially be winning minutes off his back, being the more active fighter. So I lean Charlie in this one. I know a lot of people are really quoting the under because the unders always hit in Oliveira fights. If you're on the Islam side, I wouldn't necessarily hit the under. If you're on the Charles side, then I think the submission is probably the way to go, or the TKO, or if you have the finish only problem.
Even if you're on like the Charlie side, but you think Islam gets enough control time, the overs the look, right? Because he's the clink in that game plan, or the clink in that always hitting under.
I see a lot of people laying chalk on the under 1.5. I think it's sitting at like minus 115 right now. And to me, that's a real sketchy spot for this type of fight. Because, even like I said, Charles Oliveira, his last couple of fights, man, like there have been with people that will bring it. Islam isn't that guy. Like Islam's going to wrestle him. He knows whenever he's on the ground, he's going to put himself in compromising positions. So I get people think this fight's gonna be a firefight, but I really would not be smashing those unders the way people are. I think that's kind of a trap spot there.
Yeah, I think I'm honestly, man, it's just a stay away from me. I think I'm gonna be more of a fan on this one because when you have a guy who has the most subs in the UFC, a guy with the pedigree of submissions that he is, he can get a sub in scrambles. He can get a sub if Makhachev is definitely compromised. And off his back, I don't know about that, but regardless, it's just there's too many avenues, too many variables, and obviously we know the strength of schedule is there on the champ side, and people are disrespecting him pretty hard. And that's why if it does go, I'd say over like 170 or starts creep to 180 or whatever it's going to, I may take a little bit of a sprinkle on the dog and the champ. But all right, let's move on to the next fight on the card. I'm gonna let you take it away.
Fight on the card, we have Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. This one a little bit more on the favorite. I don't know if it's the fact that Aljo's just kind of always been a breadwinner for me, but like I think stylistically, I will be the first to say I don't think that TJ beat Corey Sandhagen. Sorry, I know a lot of people were kind of 50-50 on that fight, and I just think that whenever this fight, what's that?
Instead of cash, I'm good.
I know. I see. That's what I'm saying. Like everybody's, but I think striking. I think this fight's a lot closer than people think it will be, and I think a lot of people just hate on Sterling based on the fact of his first fight with Peter Yan. I think he's a better fighter in this position, and I think if whenever this fight hits the ground, I think he'll be able to put TJ in more compromising positions, and I think he probably rides this out to like a greasy decision. This fight's definitely gonna be close though. I don't hate anybody for taking the plus money on TJ, but there's a lot of variables on his side. And, you know, Sterling cashed me a big ticket last time against Peter Yan the second time around. So I'll have to ride with him again on this one.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to be completely on the opposite side of this one. I think a lot of people are distracted by PEDs. They're not relevant anymore. If you want to talk your morals and your ethics and whatever, take them somewhere else. If we're looking at the breakdown of the fight, it's not really relevant anymore because the reality is if we're saying he's doing it again, then that's a whole other conversation. But if it's from the past, he's already answered that, right? He went, a main event with Sandhagen. It was the main event, was it not?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the main event with Sandhagen. He's injured. He makes it through that fight. Now, does he come back from the surgery? I don't know. An older guy coming back from the surgery, is that an issue? That's a conversation. My reality is this, though. The strength of schedule, not even the same. I think on the stand-up, this is where I vehemently disagree with you. Aljo doesn't even have close to the level of stand-up that Dillashaw does. The footwork is just like leaps and bounds better, unless he's compromised from that surgery and he runs his footwork game on the feet. Aljo has that style that's a little bit off-putting, and he lands some strikes here and there that look good, but he's sort of just he's an awkward striker. And what he's good at is what he's good at. He scrambles so well, takes the back beautifully. He jumps on your back so well, fishes that. You see him fish that one hook in on one side. He's popped right up on you, and he's jumping on your back so quick. It's fantastic. But I just don't know if TJ is the guy he does that to. The footwork, the lateral movement, the speed, the striking, the technique. I just don't know when we have him as a dog. Dillashaw, former champion. I don't know, man. I know that's obviously Aljo's the champ. Aljo, you can argue, I think he won the last fight. I think, it was control. The backpack's real. If you can't answer the backpack, it's your own damn fault. You got to figure it out as a fighter, and I won't hate on it, even as a fan. But I just don't know if he's going to be able to take Dillashaw down. I think he's going to be able to scramble, get back to his feet. I don't know if it's going to be one controlled scenario that's going to lead to a submission. So I think it would take a couple controlled scenarios by Aljo to lead to a submission against Dillashaw. And that would be later on in the fight. I don't see it early. So yeah, Aljo's he lands about 1.71 takedowns in a fight. So if he gets Dillashaw down twice, right? I don't know if I can't see it. I can't see it. I can see maybe once. I just don't see him being able to take Dillashaw down with the 86% takedown defense, and that's over one of the biggest sample sizes in UFC history. So when we talk about takedown defense at that height, so I don't know, man. I'm on the dog plus 145.
I will say though, you understand, like TJ's last decent win was 2015.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I would be fully with you on that line of thinking if he didn't still look great against Sandhagen, right? The only thing that's going to hurt me in this is if if he's compromised. I thought he looked good against Sandhagen. He
You
fought.
can't hate on Sterling for the backpack whenever TJ couldn't even get it though.
But it's not hating on him. It's just a matter of, is he going to be able to get it and actually get to that submission or control time multiple times throughout the fight? I don't know, man. I know once he gets there, it's a wrap for the round. At least he's going to wrap his body around you and hold you, for the round. But the reality is I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. We may have to put a little bet in this. We have to.
And if you don't want to bet either side, you should probably smash the over, because I would bet this fight goes 25 minutes. It's gonna be closely contested.
The tinfoil hat play. Aljo knocks him out in the first round. Okay, next fight on the card. We have Petr Yan against Sean O'Malley. People have some strong opinions about this one. The line is getting absolutely closer and closer as everybody is jumping on the dog, because the plus money was a little bit crazy for someone so talented, Sean O'Malley. I'm just going to say it out of the gate. I'm on the Petr Yan side of things. Just his style and what he's done in the past in his firefights. I can't really pick against it. But when you have these two styles go head to head, if they went head to head like 10 times, it could go back and forth, man, because someone's going to knock someone out a couple times. Someone's going to outpoint someone a couple times. Both guys have their skill set and they're very high level. But we have Petr Yan coming in with that shell. He's going to hold that up. He's going to march forward with that Muay Thai style. He's going to bang. He needs to do that early, though. He needs to not sit, wait back, download in the 3-round fight with Sean O'Malley, who can either play outside and pick you apart and outpoint you in the first 2 rounds while you're waiting to download, or can march forward in and out and move around and is, I just think, for me, I think that Yan needs to put him on his back foot. And I think he needs to do the one thing that, Vera showed already, is chop down those fucking legs, right? Get in there, chop down those legs nonstop. That's the path to victory, in my opinion. Obviously, O'Malley is game planning that. Maybe O'Malley takes us to the ground. I don't know. There's a mythical thing they call O'Malley's grappling. I haven't seen it. We'll see it. We hear it's good. But does Yan take this to the ground? I don't know. But for me, I'm going to go with Yan. What the line is currently sitting at plus 255, O'Malley dog, to Yan minus 310. I'm just going to wait all the way till the fight, see if the line gets tighter. Otherwise, I'll probably just stay off it. But my pick, I got to make picks. Petr Yan.
Yeah, so I'm going to slightly lean Sean on this one. And if you ever listen to this podcast, I honestly, I do not care for Sean O'Malley at all. I don't care for the antics. I don't care for any of this shit. The way I look at this fight is that Petr Yan is very slow starting and compromises himself in every single fight. If you look at most of his fights, and you can see all the judges' scorecards online, he drops the first round 9 out of 10 times. Sean O'Malley's got a 6-inch reach advantage. He's actually a very good technical striker, and Petr Yan takes a very long time to get the reads going. You look at 3, 4, 5, he's good to go. If this is a 5-round fight, I'd bet the house probably on Petr Yan. I don't trust it in 3 rounds, and the line is way too wide, in my opinion, to trust Petr Yan to figure this out early. Sean O'Malley's probably well aware of what he's getting himself into, and the thing is, Petr Yan has to hit him. It's a big cage. It's in Abu Dhabi. He's got to figure out a way to close that distance. And as I said, if you look at Sean O'Malley striking, he's very good defensively. The leg kicks from Marlon Vera, obviously that's something that compromised him in the past, but I think O'Malley rides this, and I'm pretty confident in saying that it's probably a decision fight. Pretty sure this fight goes all 15 minutes, because I said neither one of these guys, especially after Dana White came out yesterday and said that whoever wins this fight is going to get the next title shot, neither one of these guys, I believe, will put themselves in a compromising position. So I'll take O'Malley, and I'll take him by decision, and it's more value than it. I think Petr Yan's probably the better fighter, but as I said, it's that first 7.5 minutes that if Petr Yan gives it up, that is he going to make enough headway in the last half of the fight to come back? And I just don't personally foresee it.
And I totally see that side of it too, where he just get outpointed by the dog. Here's why this is a stay off for me. It's more of a show me spot right now, because sure, O'Malley, although has showed me that he is a high level striker, he showed me that against Chris Moutinho, Thomas Almeida, Eddie Wineland, Jose Alberto Caninos. And for me, if you look at the strength of schedule on the other side of it, it's not even comparable. I don't.
Sure.
So my only thing is I'm not suggesting that O'Malley isn't that good. I really do think his skill set is that high level, but I got to see it against someone like a Piotr Jan, you know. And I think that this is a really this if O'Malley goes in there and dominates him, and I think a lot of people are saying this, obviously his star power is already there. This just solidifies him, and it sets up a Marlon Vera fucking fight so nicely. But for me, I'm gonna lean Jan, but I fully get your O'Malley side of it because I could actually see me on both sides of this with a couple different angles.
Yeah,
the
that's it. Like,
reality of the fact that it's a show me spot for me.
yeah, and as I said, that's what the Batman. It's straight up just value. It's as I said, the line's way too wide. Like, but with that, I digress, man. Like, as you said, man, this is going to be a show me spot. This is kind of one, as I said, I agree with you. I wouldn't necessarily put too much money on it. It's going to be a good fight, and we'll be excited to see who gets the next title shot after it.
Okay, next fight in the card.
We have Beneil Dariush against Matthews Gamrot. This is a tough one, man. Like,
Very tough.
like there's another one on this card that we'll get to where it's very similar to this, where this is one of these fights, man, because like I have an issue with Matthews, right? Like, I don't think he won his last fight, and that's where I'm like skeptical, where I'm like, is he really as good as I think he's gonna be? Like with Beneil, man, Beneil's shown us time and time again that this guy's a dog and he will fight for your money. So it's a 3-round fight. Matthews, and then the thing is, like, who's gonna be able to land the takedown? So I definitely slightly favor Matthews in this fight, but it's, to me, this fight should be a straight up pick 'em, man. I think if you're gonna bet this fight at all, you bet the fact that the fight's gonna go the distance. I can definitely foresee this being a 3-round fight, and it's one of these things where Matthews, in my opinion, is taking a big step up in competition, and especially after his fight, his last fight with Arman, where, as I said, most people believe he lost that fight. It's kind of another one of these show me fights, as you said. Like, Beneil's the real deal, man. The guy's been at the top of the division for a long time, so we'll have to see what he can do.
And when I look at, like, from that Gamrot fight against Sarukian, I think it sort of did show us enough about Gamrot. I think even though he didn't win the fight, I think it showed his level. I think it showed his level of grappling. I'm with you on that. I think Sarukian won that fight. I think the body kicks and the strikes were enough significance. But the reality is, Gamrot has some power in his hands, sort of winging shots, but he has some solid ass grappling, man. And I think that now we have a guy in Dariush who has maybe a little bit less power than Sarukian, but has a way higher grappling upside. So I don't know, man. This is a back. I don't even know. This should be a fighter's delight. Like a fight. Most fighters are gonna probably fanboy on this fight because it's gonna be a solid grappling mix with some pretty decent stand-up exchanges. I think Dariush has a cleaner stand-up game against Gamrot, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna probably lean Dariush on this side. I just think that even though the time he's been off, I think he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I would, man. He's been overlooked a couple times now. I think he's going to bring a little bit more of an edge to him. I know it's a narrative, but I lean Dariush in this. I don't know if I'll get to the window on it. What's the line currently sitting at?
The line's currently sitting at -190 for Matthews and +165 for Beneil.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Beneil right now is likely our dog so far. Are you being in agreement on that one then?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
So far, we'll see as we go down the line. Next fight on the card, we have Caitlin Chukagian against Manon Fiorot. Caitlin Chukagian tried testing and true. I sort of hate on her, but her by decision is pretty much guaranteed a lot of the time. And she's essentially a woman who throws out a volume of strikes, and the way she throws her strikes, it's hard to see exactly what's landing because they're not necessarily always they're not always significant, right? But they're landing at volume. Some are just missing a little bit. She's making a lot of noise, and she ends up outpointing a lot of her opponents a lot of the time. The only thing is when her head's getting snapped back by Manon Fiorot, I don't know if that's going to, the kias and the whatever else is going to outweigh how that's going to look. And I don't know how many times that happens though. Manon's going to catch her a couple times as she comes in. I just don't know when she's blitzing in with that style, how that's going to work against someone who can actually parry off and just land. So I'm very interested in this battle. I think this is actually a show me spot for Fiorot in this situation to see if she's ready for that next step. But I don't know. I lean probably Manon Fiorot in this. What's the line currently sitting at? This is going to be a striker's delight. I think there might be a little bit.
The line's currently set at minus 192 for Fio, with the return being a plus 167.
I mean, I think if Firo can and try to mix some things in, I heard that Chikagi might try to mix in some wrestling. I think if Firo can, mix in some grimy stuff up against the cage, maybe some trips, it could get interesting. But I'm still going to lean Manon Firo in this. I just like her style of striking. I just think that she's going to land more significant strikes. I think the line's going to be a little bit closer as far as amount of strikes landed. So we'll have significant strikes leading her way. And yeah, Manon Firo by decision.
I'm gonna lean the opposite side, man. I'm gonna go with Kaylin on this one. I haven't been too impressed with what I've seen with Fio. Kaylin Chukagian, man, like this is somebody who just sticks to the game plan. Like there is no straying from the path at all. With Fio, she's very
She went for her
over-aggressive.
last fight. Sorry to interrupt, and I'll give it to her. She didn't just throw out little punches last fight. She was actually going for it in her last fight. She was landing some pretty good shots. So
Exactly. But once again, she always steps back when she needs to, right? Like she's a decision machine. She knows what she has to do. She knows what the judges like. As you were saying, like the like she's making sure the judges know that she's throwing those shots. So
Yep.
I'm gonna side with her on this one. And I think that 3 rounds I think will play a factor as well. And it's just Kaylin's got so much more experience. She's been there with the top of the top. She's been in these. This isn't a main event spot, but big in these big highlight reel fights, and I think she'll be able to do enough to ride herself to a decision. Just point fight her way around the cage.
And sorry, what was that line currently sitting at?
Plus 187 right now
For
Kaylin.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's murder first off, and next that's a nice line actually, man. For someone that actually wins by decision, I may have to switch my side just for a value, at least as far as a play. But we will talk about that one. Maybe make that one of the podcast plays because I think that only makes sense. The value's there. I can't argue with it. She wins by decision far too much. Okay, next fight on the card. I will let you take that one away.
The next fight on the card, we have Bilal Muhammad going against Sean Brady. This is the fight they were referencing earlier where you really have to be careful on how you bet this one. Just because whenever you look at it with Sean Brady, man, like he's a very young up and comer and he's done what he has to do, but he hasn't looked. He's looked overly impressive when he's had to, but in the Chiesa fight, like he in that 3rd round, if there was another 15 seconds, whenever Chiesa had him in full mount, like that fight was done. So it makes me a little bit worried about him in the spot, especially him as a relatively large favorite. That being said, Bilal Muhammad will never get my money. So if anything, I'd smash the fact that this fight's going to go to decision.
I don't get the hate for Bilal Muhammad. Why is there so much hate? It's like John Fitch hate. It's like wet blanket hate.
Dude, I said it in the group chat earlier today, man. I've seen more action in softcore porn than I've seen in a Bilal Muhammad fight. So
wow,
but
does he win though?
Yeah, well, 100%. It's we just talked about Kaylin Chukagian. Like,
I like wins.
He's the type of guy that's gonna. If you're a gambler, Bilal Muhammad's your guy, and that's what the show's about. But I like.
All right, so let's go.
I just can't get to the window with him. I think Sean.
Did I just talk you into betting on Bilal Muhammad?
No, 0%. You talked me to the fact that I'm going to bet the over because if Bilal Muhammad wins, there is 100% chance he's going to decision.
And that's okay. And that's you sort of betting for Bilal Muhammad without betting for Bilal Muhammad. I mean, everybody can hate on him and do whatever else, but if he's nullified some of the best skill sets. So, I mean, if that's a talent, that's a talent. And if he's gonna make that what he does, then he can ride that all the way to a championship and maybe not make it an actual win in the championship fight. But man, his stand-up's decent. And when he runs his top heavy wrestling game, it's there, man. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of variables in this fight. When we look at the monster that is Sean Brady as he's come up, I mean, there is some things that scare me. How he did fade a little bit in that Chiesa fight. But he has the power. That's the little bit of the difference you see with him and Muhammad on the feet. I think Muhammad's a little bit of a cleaner striker. I think that Brady brings a little bit more of that power though. And he's not that he's a sloppy striker. Brady's still pretty decent. So if he lands, that's very interesting to see how that will play out. I don't know, man. I think this one's so back and forth. I'm going to lean Bilal. I think Bilal is just sort of like a Chikagian thing, like you're saying. So I'll go with Bilal in this situation, but it's very interesting. Obviously, everybody's putting a whole bunch into the Nurmagomedov in his corner. I don't give a shit about any of that. The fact that he's over there shows me how serious he is, and he went out there pretty early. That's pretty awesome. So he went out there for his training camp, which is good.
It's not a bad play, man. Bilal seems to be like the dog that most cappers are like kind of, you're getting some good plus money. And at the end of the day, I don't want to compare this to women's MMA, but like you're betting a fight that's 9 out of 10 times going to go to decision. So, and it's going to be a fight that's going to be closely contested over two guys that really want to grapple. So I don't blame anybody for wanting to hold a plus money ticket because you never know what the judge is going to read. It's in Abu Dhabi. And as I said, man, this fight's a pick 'em on paper, regardless what the line suggests.
Well, Bodog lines that out yet, but the Bilal Muhammad by third round or decision, if you may have that out, I don't know. I think that's potentially a play there.
I don't hate it, man.
Okay, next fight on the card. Is it my turn or your turn?
It's your turn.
Okay, we have Mahmoud Miradov against Kyle Barhayo. This is definitely an interesting matchup because do we see chaos? Do we see the power of Miradov just take over and finally put out what is this budding prospect in Kyle Barhayo? Or does Barhayo do what he does best and does he either stay on the outside and wait for a moment until he can get his moment to get that backpack or get to the ground? Or does he actually march forward and actually press into him and do some wrestling? He showed some decent wrestling. Barhayo is the real deal. He has the striking. He can press you on your back foot. He can play the counter game too. He did that so well against Aaron Jeffery. Aaron Jeffery, friend of the podcast, but he took a guy in Aaron Jeffery who I think is a murderer and possibly one of the biggest middleweights out there right now. And Kyle Barhayo he sort of nullified him. He was able to sort of stay on the outside, stay away from him. And I just think that that's a possibility. I think that's something that could happen. I think he could end up getting on Miradov's back and potentially even subbing him. As we know, Miradov got subbed in his last fight. But, I mean, as I'm going to go on the other side of this, I just think that with Miradov's he just destroys people. He's a fucking murderer. And when he lands and you feel it. So the jiu-jitsu black belt turns into what? A white belt when he gets hit. So that's there too, right? So there's variables there. But then what this does scream is a potential fight doesn't go the distance. I wouldn't say under something because it could still drag out with a backpack for a while. But I think this could lead to a sub and or a finish of KO on either end. So really, I think fight doesn't go the distance is the play. I'm going to actually lean with Barhayo. I'm going to lean until he shows me something different. I'm going to lean with him. I think that he wins this fight. But I could go either way. I watched tape and I was flipping coins back and forth on this one. This is one of those maybe even stay away as far as play, but a pick, I'll go with the Brazilian.
I think this is a good fight to live bet. I think with Miradov, I think a lot of people are mad about the GM3 kind of thing. And like I get it. GM3 is shown to have like an extraordinary chin.
Crazy.
So like I just feel like that he'll probably be able to win minutes in the first round. I feel like it's gonna be close. I feel like Kyle will probably struggle to get the takedown early. But if he can't get Kyle out, is it Kyle or CO?
No, Kyle.
Okay, it's good. Yeah, if you can't get him out of there, then I think that he's probably going to be able to start taking over as the rounds progress and either get a late sub or I know he said violence. I don't hate the violence spot at all because I think if Miradov wins, it's by KO, and I think if Kyle wins, it's probably going to be by a late sub. So
depending on when that fight doesn't go would be the best because I think it could be really late. Like a late desperate sub, or like it could be something, who knows, but I just think that there's a lot of potential of it there. So fight doesn't go if that line's out, that might be a play depending on where the line's sitting at.
Right now, I only got, and Bet Online seems to have the most recent odds. I only have over 1.5, which is -1 or -210, so nothing of real value there.
And then we didn't even actually say who was favored and dogged. But what's the line currently sitting at?
Right now, the cow's sitting at -195 or -191, sorry, with the return on Makhachev Miradov being a +166.
Yeah, so if that line continues to grow, I mean, I don't hate anybody taking the dog shot in a guy who finishes most of his opponents. So either way, I'm going to probably, once again, look at maybe a stay off. There's going to be quite a few of those. I'm going to isolate 1 or 2 fights likely from a betting angle and suggested play angle. Next fight that we will break down is one I'm not excited to break down, and I'm excited that you get to start off. Take it away.
All right. Next fight of the card that we have, where are we at with this? Volkan Ozdemir versus Nikita Krylov. This is one I'm actually happy you handed over to me because I'm pretty confident in Volkan in the spot. I feel like the guy gets kind of a lot of hate because he had the whole no time thing and hasn't really had much of a KO in quite some time. But I think he showed a lot in his last fight, man. And I think that he's kind of more on the rebound of his career. With Nikita, like he came out and he KO'd the Gustafsson. And I'm a huge Gustafsson fan, but as we all know, man, the guy's been past his prime for quite some time. So this fight's going to be close. I will admit, if Nikita can implement a grappling game plan, it may be a little bit closer than I think it's going to be. But I think Volkan's striking is going to be night and day compared to Nikita. I think that Volkan's grappling defense is going to be able to hold up a fair bit in this fight. But I think this fight's more than likely going to go to decision. If you look at Volkan's takedown defense, he's got an 86% takedown defense. And that number's only as low as it is because of the Daniel Cormier fight. Like he stops most takedowns that comes his way. And as I said, I think on the feet, it's just going to be night and day with Volkan. What's your opinion on this one?
I lean with your look at that exactly, but at the same time, Volkan Ozdemir it seems weird to even want to make a pick on one of his fights. It feels because he's been around for so long. And no, I totally get your angle because I'm gonna actually say on his last performance, people were shitting on him for not finishing Paul Craig. I thought he showed fight IQ in that fight. Was able to stay away from trouble for the most part. That on the feet though, Paul Craig was actually touching him a little bit. That worries me a little bit because I think that Krylov is leaps and bounds, not even close to Ozdemir on the feet. I don't know, man. That's why Ozdemir is just one of those guys I sort of stay away from. The fights I stay away from. I ended up sprinkling Paul Craig last fight. I shouldn't have. I don't like betting for or against. His stand-up is definitely possibly one of the best in the divisions. And you're right with the takedown defense. I mean, anybody gets taken down by Daniel Cormier. But I don't know, man. I'll leave that one to you. I'm going to mostly stay away from this one and watch and see. But Krylov, I don't even think really is fully at that level. But at the same time, Ozdemir scares the shit out of me. So he just I was around and a big fan when he came onto the scene, and he was just smashing people. And then that sort of changed completely. And it's just sort of weird. It's like a totally different guy, and the striking's still there, the pedigree's still there. So he likely is his side, but I will. Yeah,
it's hard. Like after the DC loss, he's kind of took a turn, and then you had that loss in Canada to Anthony Smith. There,
he's a good dog pick though. Plus 445. Nothing wrong with that.
We start talking old fights, man. We're gonna go way far down a deep path.
Next fight on the card, we have Zubaira Tukhugov against Lucas Almeida. This was one I wanted to actually tape quite a bit and sort of put a little bit of focus into to see if there was an angle. Just because Lucas Almeida just impressed me. That guy just lands with fucking dynamite and doesn't really go away either. Fights for your dollar. Same time, we have a guy. I tried to look at Zubaira and try to see what it was about him that was going to stay away from the power of Almeida. Because I think if he touches him, I think it could be a wrap. So how does he stay away? Does he use that grappling? He doesn't really get control time, man. So he gets takedowns. He'll get a certain amount of takedowns in a fight, but it's a lot of scrambly stuff that doesn't really result in a lot of control time. So if the control time's not there, that leaves opportunity for Almeida to still hammer. And I looked at, Zubaira's stand-up, and I'm not really it's all right. It's okay. He could catch somebody 100%, but it's not anything to write home about. And he doesn't really put he's a little bit more reserved with his striking than Almeida would be at times. And Almeida's just going to go for it, I think. And I don't know what the gas tank would look like. It's probably a little more of a show me spot in this situation. With Zubaira not being as active, it's hard to even really want to see where he's going to be. But I just think the one thing that sort of that stuck out to me was he's supposed to be the wrestling heavy guy who's going to come in here, and he's got tricky takedowns, awesome takedowns actually, but no control time. It's not quite where it needs to be. It's not bad, but it's not going to necessarily win a fight if a couple big strikes are landed. So that's where I maybe even want to stay off it, because there might be a couple takedowns mixed in with a couple big shots landed from Almeida on one side. The line currently is sitting plus 135 to the dog for Almeida. I'm sort of hoping more money comes in on Zubaira, but it seems like a lot of people are sort of staying away because they're not quite sure. What's your thought on this one, Zubaira, Almeida?
I lean Almeida in this one, man. I'm not a big fan of Zubaira. I butcher this guy's name, man. John's gonna have a good laugh at this one, but yeah, like I don't think that he deserves all the hype. Like I think he has a lot of hype because the whole AKA gym, his association with Khabib and stuff like that. But Lucas showed us a lot in that fight against Mike Gisano, like a fight where he was a huge underdog coming in, and he was able to fight from adversity. And dude's got power, man. He took him out late in the third, and I just questioned kind of what you said, like with Zubaira, like whenever this fight stays standing, like if he starts getting clipped, like how is he gonna look? Like exactly, he's only got a striking accuracy of 39%. I think the biggest difference in this fight, man, I think it's gonna be the fact that, as I said, whenever like push comes to shove, like Zubaira, he's not very technical and he's not very good at a lot of the stuff that he does. Like he relies on a lot of his fights, like if you look at his fight against like Dan Andrade, like that's just a guy that throws power punches and somebody who I've made decent money off and somebody to support. But somebody where a guy like Zubaira can kind of take advantage of those winging shots. Lucas Almeida's got very good striking in himself. He's very technical, and I think it's just going to cause a lot of problems in this fight. So I like him pretty heavily as a dog pick on this card.
Okay, we got some dogs. So we'll go back over it and make our official picks. We had some good picks last week. All right, next fight in the card. You take it away. You know my opinion on this one, but let's go.
God damn, you just wanted to try and say his names, didn't you?
Yeah, man.
The next fight on the card.
Abubakar.
Abubakar Nurmagomedov. We got Khabib's brother, who is not his brother, who's not really his cousin, where people don't really know what's up. Going on against
Gadzi Omar Gadzi.
What the fuck? And Gadzi Armagavia.
John Anik to his Cody Merrow. Gadzi Omar Gadziev.
Gadzi Omargaviev.
Abubakar Nurmagomedov.
John, this one's for you, bud. You better listen to our podcast because you're just getting a kick out of this one here. All right, to the pick here. I like Gadzi a lot on the spot, man. Once again, picking on the dog here. I think Gadzi showed a lot in his last fight, man. And I think his striking is just on point. Where with Abdul, I just think that this guy gets so much hype because of his affiliation with his brother or his cousin. His fight with CO for Gadzia, he was definitely like he was taken down and he was controlled, but he was able to kind of nullify his striking and everything like that. So I think Gadzia is going to come in here, and I think he's going to be able to KO Abu. I'm not going to try and say his last name again.
I mean, don't. I would say maybe look at inside the distance because. Or even just look at playing it as the dog because he may take his leg too. He's pretty aggressive with those leg attacks as well too. We'll try to knee bar and snap your leg. But yeah, you know me, I don't like Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Why? Because I think he was like the accountant cousin that got like forced onto the mats. And I've said this time and time again on the podcast. Didn't know much about him. Blindly, tailed somebody on him once and regretted it. And I think probably tailed you on it. Man, so for me, his stand-up's not quite that as great as everybody says. They say he's more of the stand-up Nurmagomedov, and he's got some clean stand-up. I'm not really that big of a fan. And then his top control is not quite there. He gets swept. You can even see his cousin brother's, whatever his name is, Goat, in the corner getting frustrated when he's not listening to him. It's like, it really is like he is the cousin that didn't want to be on the team. And like, I don't want to do this. I want to go skipping with the girls. Instead, I'm here on the mats wrestling with bears. And he didn't want to do it. And I'm running a narrative and it's funny. But honestly, man, this guy should not be favored at the minus 175. I think it's because he's been in the UFC a little bit longer. And I would argue that his level of fighting, being in the UFC that he's at, is probably just because of his name. And that's it. So Godzi's definitely live as hell. I think just him money line is probably the best way to look at it, to be honest. I think you can finish it both ways or look at inside the distance. But plus 150, man, I hope people blindly bet this because it's 280 and they just see Nurmagomedov and they juice this line up at great at wins. That's my pray, and that does happen on big events. Everybody's getting an app now. Everybody's got an app and they don't listen to the podcast. So you guys hit that minus 175, make it minus 200, and I will play my minus 180 or whatever it turns out to be. On the other hand, Omar Gadzhiev. I see I almost got fucked up on that. You see that hooked on phonics shit. All right, I think we beat this one to death. Next fight on the card, we have a fight that could have happened on Dana White Contender Series, but didn't. We have AJ Dobson and Armen Petrosyan. Petrosyan obviously is a guy that likes to get taken down at will, but has the stand up for days and still can outlast and make it to later on in fights and make it pretty sticky and greasy. His stand up game is just what makes everybody, want to bet him. But it also made you, get fucked in the last time you backed him. Pretty badly. AJ Dobson is somebody who I think is, he can mix in some wrestling, but is not really as apparent. He's got some really big power in his hands, but I just think the striking, it's just not going to be the same level. I think Petrosyan's better in the striking. And right now the line's currently, what are we sitting at? Plus 180 dog for AJ Dobson. I mean, I think that's about right, because I just don't know if he's going to get Petrosyan down enough, gain enough control time, or maybe smash him and get him out of there early. I mean, I think that's really Dobson's only way if he lands a big shot early. I think later he's going to get sloppier, and I think Petrosyan's just going to pick him apart. Unless he brings a wrestle heavy game plan that we haven't seen. If he comes in heavy with a wrestling game plan, I think it's potentially there. Obviously, we know that. I mean, everybody's pretty much singing that from the mountaintops with Petrosyan. The stand-up's there, but the wrestling defense is not. I'm going to lean Petrosyan in this, but I'm not touching this with anything that suggested play. None of that. I'll probably pick Petrosyan, but I'm not touching it. Minus 220. Fuck no.
Yeah, that line is fucking wide, man. Like, the thing with AJ Dobson, right, is like there's a lot we don't know about him. As a lot of people on other podcasts and stuff like that, and as you just mentioned, like the grappling, something that's we've heard about and something we saw in the Contender Series, but he had the guy heavily rocked whenever he took him to the ground. So relying on him to take him down, not a very good angle you want to approach, although we know it is there. But the dude's known as a power puncher, right? I think the average person, I think you should stay away from this fight. This is a Contender Series fight, in my opinion. I do like AJ Dobson. Once again, that's a value play, but it's just because you can't give me a line this wide and expect to not take the dog. Shit, if you're giving me -2 or plus 200 on AJ Dobson, I'm gonna smash the first round KO as well, like it's a Jordan Wright fight. Like,
if it gets wider, then it's a smart way to
like you're probably gonna get plus 1,000 on the first round KO, and that's AJ's win condition.
And I mean that turns it into not necessarily a money line play, but just turns it into the prop.
Yeah,
so much value.
You don't want to touch this fight, but you throw $10 on the fact that AJ wins in the first round. That's an easy $90 in your pocket. So. But other than that, man, I think this fight's going to be close. I don't really think a lot of people have an angle on it. Like the Armen fight with Gregory Rodriguez, we saw a lot from Armen. Definitely good things, but the fight was very close. And to say we didn't learn anything with AJ Dobson, well, he fought Jacob Malkoun. Like Jacob Malkoun is John Fitch. Any of these fighters that we've seen throughout the years, the guy's a wet blanket. Like it's what he does. He's going to hold you down and do fuck all for 15 minutes. Yeah. So if you're a guy who's a power puncher and you rely on winging wild shots, a guy that's going to wet blanket you really isn't your ideal type of fight. So I can't say we learned much from his UFC performance. So line's wide, don't touch it, don't parlay it.
But you may have an angle there, and I mean, although I'm leaning Petrosyan, I think that if you're looking for a prop, that maybe the prop is the line gets wider if it does.
Yeah, it's just straight value at that point. It's a single,
Yep. Next fight on the card, and now you're going to lead this one, but I'm going to give you a disclaimer. There's a lot of people with Malcolm Gordon's name in their mouth. A lot of people that haven't even put on gloves before. A lot of people that normally have Cheetos fucking falling out of their mouth, talking shit. And I know that we all talk shit, right? So I talk about Jordan Wright. I say Jordan Wright's a glass canoe with a cannon in it. We go on and on. Malcolm Gordon's not that dude. So if he runs into you and you talk a bunch of shit and he's seen you say he's chinny chin chin. I'm not just saying you, I'm saying fucking anybody. I see it and it's like, dude, it's not, I think it's blown up more than it is, first off. And next, like people just got to watch that shit, including myself with some fighters. But it's like, if you're not even training and you're not even stepping in to do shit, it's okay to say someone's been knocked out multiple times. It's even okay to say, after it's happened multiple times, to say there's a chin issue. But to go down a rabbit hole like I've heard some of these guys go, it's sketchy, man. Because one day you're gonna hear about it. Wannabe capper on YouTube gets fucking smashed by UFC fighter. It's gonna happen. Anyways, I'll let you lead off with your disclaimer because you live in his region. Muhammad Makhachev, Malcolm Gordon.
Dude, if you told me I should be betting a -1,000 on a 22-year-old kid, I'd tell you to kill yourself. Like, yeah, we don't know anything about Muhammad Makhachev. Like, the guy had an essential amateur career. That's fine. You look at his wins in the UFC. Charles Johnson, Cody Durden. Gordon's been in the game for a long time, man. He's 14-5, and yeah, people can talk all the shit they want. The guy's been KO'd. Yeah, so that happens to a lot of people. They got punched in the face, man. Like, this isn't really anything new. Like his last fight, he was like what, a +600 against Sidney Sponder. Pretty sure
what happened with that?
Yeah, we both cashed a ticket, and other people didn't.
Yeah, and the man, people were screaming it was an injury in the fight. No, it was a result of him grabbing up that arm, right?
And that's the way it goes. So if you're telling me that Makhachev's going to come here and just steamroll this guy, it is possible. He definitely should be the favorite. But man, like, you're going to parlay a -1. Like, I'm going to look at the line right now. Because I think you and I have had this conversation before about Malcolm Gordon, right?
Makhachev is the same guy that, like, 2 fights ago, people were saying, why is that line so wide? I'm not giving that guy my money, or I wouldn't want to give that guy my money, or he's not proving anything. And yeah, I get it. He's come in and beat guys that weren't in the UFC level yet. But Malcolm Gordon is a slick bet, right? He's been around for time, and he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he will grab your goddamn arm. And if you grab your arm, sure, he's been put on his back multiple times. But if you can grab your arm and make it sticky for you, I just think that this line being so wide is just crazy. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and okay, just that insult to injury. Like, right now, Malcolm Gordon's a +900, okay? The same people who are like, oh, man, I would never bet it. The same idiots that bet on that first fight. What was the guy's name? Fought in the first fight last weekend? He fought CM Punk?
Yeah. Exactly. We don't even need to say it.
Exactly. We're not gonna say this guy. People, oh man, there's value. There's value. Yeah, shut the fuck up. There ain't no goddamn value betting on a 1-1 fighter. You're gonna bet on a guy that's 7-0 facing nobodies, but you won't bet value on a guy that's 17-6 or whatever he is, who's fought UFC level competition. Dude, if you lay the -1,200, I hope the shit you lose.
Here's my thing. Makhachev's not that great of a striker, and I just think that Gordon has been tagged by guys who are better strikers. Does it mean that when he's been hit and dropped at points, it's not always about a chin being an issue. It's about a positional thing. It's about a strike landing a certain way. So my thing is with the line being so wide, I got to look at why not Malcolm Gordon. I mean, I got to try to find. I got to look at. I just don't see why it's so crazy, and people will just want to fade, and a lot of time when people fade, they end up getting fucked. So if you bet a lot of people are touching this line right now because they're fading Gordon, and they're all going to get fucked because something's
It's always the biggest favorites that lose, man. Every single person had Victor Henry in their goddamn parlays last weekend. And what did Victor Henry do? He shit the bed to a guy that's 40 years old.
Yep.
So just saying.
Like, I get Makhachev's pedigree. I get the amateur career. I get the wrestle heavy approach. I get how he throws guys around. I 100% see it. But then look at his opponent who just broke the last guy's arm or shoulder or whatever it was. So for me, I don't know. I'm just going to potentially have to throw value at it and put my homer hat on just to be a fucking asshole. But I'm going to do it.
And that KO prop's going to be good too. Because at the end of the day, I don't think Malcolm Gordon wins a decision here. So if they're giving you +900 on the money line, shit, you're going to get like +1,400, +1,500 on the KO prop. So.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that this line being so wide, there's no way to play it. If you're a fan of Malcolm Gordon, if you're a fan of just not being an asshole and looking at how wide this line is, it's just ridiculous. So for me, I just like, why not just even if you put coffee on it, you're gonna make a killing because the line's so wide. Next fight on the card, we have Lena Landsberg against Carl Hossa. Carl Hossa, obviously, the stand-up is just ridiculous. And actually, let's get the line out first. What's the line currently sitting at?
The line right now is sitting. So Bet Online doesn't have this shit in order. Yeah, Carlo Rosa is a minus 335 favorite. Which,
Yeah, I mean, which I get, and
yeah, rightfully
I'm gonna
so.
break down why, because Hosa has only looked bad against McMahon in wrestling. Otherwise, she's been able to do what she needs to do. She's submitted girls. She's been able to run she's got such a varied attack. And what I did in this one was try to find where are these girls just going to get beat. And I thought, is Landsberg going to be able to get top position on Hosa? Because that's her pretty much only chance is if she were to run a top heavy game and get into a wrestle heavy approach and be able to just play smart on top and probably boring. Because up against the cage, Landsberg's defense is horrible, grappling, or it's not there. She gets dominated, owned, and striking wise, this isn't even close. So I get why the line's so wide. This pretty much, I think, put out Landsberg out to pasture at this point. I don't really want to touch it, but I mean, I may look at Hosa by decision. What's the by decision prop?
Let's see if they got it out right now.
Just because it's the first fight of the night, I might
Yeah.
get that one out of the way.
Yeah, so even that, honestly, fight goes to distance is minus 240. Not to take away from what you're talking about, but it's not a bad play. Roosevelt points is minus 130. It's not actually a bad play. Taking a minus 330 favorite and getting it close to even money isn't bad.
Yeah, I don't know if she puts Landsberg out of there, but I mean, I think
Doubt
that
it.
she's just going to confuse her with a buried attack, be able to stay out of any kind of trouble Landsberg wants to bring. If it goes up against the cage, I think Hosa will even get dominant position up against the cage as Landsberg tries to lean into her to get her to the ground. So I'll take Hosa in this one as the big juicy favorite, but we'll go with the plus money minus 130 decision.
Yeah, to be honest, I said I don't got much else to add to that. Like, I think Carl Rosa is definitely the side on this one. I think she's got the grappling advantage. I think she has the striking advantage, and like usually the first fight of the night, try and find that value, but I don't think it's there, man. Obviously, the line's wide. I say it all the time. Women's MMA odds are it's going to hit the scorecard, so be kind of suspect how many parlays you put her in, but I'd be shocked if she doesn't ride this out to a decision or a late TKO.
Okay. So we're going to scroll back up to the top. I want to go through and see where we can find our official plays. I think that you've got me off the Manon Fiorot play, man. I think that I'm more being a fan because I love her style so much. But I think Chukagian is just a smart play based on the plus money, but we'll get to that. So Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev. We don't really have a play on that one, correct? As far as official pick.
No, I picked Charles, but
yeah. And I mean, I'm back and forth still, and I think I'm probably going to lean Charlie Olives in this just for the value side of things if it gets to where it needs to get to. But Makhachev, I could see him just dominating him, and the jiu-jitsu won't even matter. But we'll see. Next fight, we have the Dillashaw Sterling fight. I'm leaning TJ in this one. And you?
heavily on Aljamain.
Yeah, we're gonna probably have to maybe look at some bets on some of these ones. O'Malley, I don't know if I see it as the play. But what was your specific bet on that one?
O'Malley by decision.
O'Malley by decision. What's it currently sitting at?
My plus 400.
Okay. Dariush and Gamron, I think we just need to stay away and watch. Chukagian by decision, I think is going to be our first play official of the night, and I think I'm with it. Chukagian by decision is what right now? Plus.
Give me two. I don't know if they have a line out. Just give me a second.
Either way, that'll be the first play, and then if we're looking at dogs, I mean, I think both of us likely looking at Lucas Almeida as a dog play.
Yeah, sure.
So Lucas Almeida would be a dog play. Gadzio Margadzia, another dog play. And I mean, we're going to talk about Malcolm Gordon, man. That line's just too crazy. I think it's going to continue to get egregious. And as it does, I just think it's stupid not to touch some of it. He broke the last opponent he fought. You know, I don't know. My opinion, black belt jiu-jitsu should get a little bit more fucking respect. But maybe I'm just being a homer. And then I never thought I'd say it, but I guess Carol Rosa by decision at minus 130 is one of our stronger plays on this card.
You get a card full of chalky favorites, man. You gotta find value where there is some.
Yeah, I think we're decent here. I mean, the one that I found at the end the week last week, I'm gonna start looking for these more, was Malkoun takedowns. It was misaligned that Maximov was gonna be able to take him down more, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah, for sure.
Taking down one of his opponents in 11 Soriano in 11 times in that fight, and then not really close to what Malkoun's volume was, and it ended up being plus money, plus 125, plus 130 at one point. Definitely a line to jump on. Start looking for those ones, because every once in a while they get it wrong, and it's almost a guarantee, and it was a simple guarantee. He did exactly what I said he would do, pressed him up against the cage, nice little single leg, trip side to side. We were winning in the first round already, no matter how the fight ended. So
we should give Malkoun a little bit of respect though, because he did like Nick's knee or ankle or some sort of part of his leg was fucked up pretty much a minute into that fight, and Malkoun threw 0 leg kicks. So I gotta give him a little bit of respect there, because he really, like, most fighters would target that shit as an easy target.
But you know what he was targeting it though? They commented on the broadcast. It's something I'd already noticed though. He was grabbing that leg, making him force the weight on the bad leg. He was doing that as soon as he realized. Go back, watch the tape. He's a sneaky bastard. Like, I think
so he got the respect points, and he was still being a dick. I like it. That's my type of guy.
Hey, man, that's the Mamba. I'd love to get him on the podcast.
Nice.
So we got our takes in. Earlier this week, I was able to actually talk to Josh Hill and Aaron Jeffery from Bellator, and they had a chance to break down some Bellator fights. We had a good talk for a while about their careers, and then they also were able to break down some fights from UFC 280. So we'll have at it Josh Hill, Aaron Jeffery. It's the prelim headliner on UFC 280, and we are jumping ahead a little bit, but it's Belal Muhammad against Sean Brady. I'm really excited as a fan for this fight. How do you see this playing out? Does it go to the grappling realm for a long period of time? Does it stay on the feet? And who do you got? Let's take Aaron to take this away.
I think Sean Brady decision, grinds him out, takes him down, beats him up, maybe takes his back. I don't see a super exciting fight, but I think Brady can be pretty dominant in that.
Josh?
I'll go the opposite. I'll go Belal Muhammad, boring decision. I think you just, like you said, I don't think it's going to be, never know. Two guys that are similar might end up being exciting, but I think it'll end up being kind of a boring stalemate, and he'll eke out a decision.
I think we're going to know almost right away when it hits the ground. Whoever can control that top position is going to be interesting. We have Petr Yan, however the hell you want to say it, against Sean O'Malley. A guy who is extremely talented, but also has built up his hype and possibly one of the best marketers in MMA that there is. Who do you take in this one? Let Aaron take this one away. 15-1, Sean O'Malley against the 16-3-0 Petr Yan.
I think Yan is too good. I feel like O'Malley's still like a little bit untested, so it's kind of like a wild card, but I'm going to go with Yan.
I should pick Petr Yan. I think skill set wise, he's the better of the two. But for some reason, I don't know why I seen the line on the betting line too, and O'Malley is a big dog. I would put money down on that for him as a big dog. I feel with his range, he might be able to keep Yan at distance, and it's only a 3-round fight. And Yan does start slow. So if O'Malley can get off early and just kind of keep that distance and frustrate him, maybe win the boring first round or two, he might be able to eke out that decision and get the win. But yeah, I don't know. I want to see Yan win, but for the dog's sake, I'd pick O'Malley.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the side with Aaron a little bit more, but at the same time, I see exactly what you're saying as far as past the victory, as far as the weapons O'Malley has. I don't know if Jan's going to be able to actually afford to be able to download in this fight, because O'Malley's going to sort of stay at range and watch him, and they're going to be a little bit of watching potentially. I think he's going to have to play the bull and go with it that way. I think he should have just Muay Thai the shit out of him and leg kick him. We've seen this already once. This was a path to victory. Do it again. I know he's better now, but fuck it. Take those legs out. But that price tag, though, a kick can happen, man. You guys know a kick can happen, a strike can happen, so definitely a good look. Next fight, we have one where I have a very strong take on and a very strong opinion on. We have Aljamain Sterling, the champion, going against TJ Dillashaw. And no disrespect to Aljamain Sterling. It's not that I'm running hate on him for everything that's happened in the past. He proved he's the champ. He ran his game and did it well in his last fight. But he sort of has a backpack, and that's about it. The hands are there. He's got some decent hands. But when you're talking about TJ Dillashaw, who's still live as on the feet like as anybody, it's been almost 10 years since the Renan Barão fight when he showed off and showed up and was able to run his footwork and do what he needs to do. The guy's got scrambles. I'm just telling you straight up right now, I'm on the Dillashaw side of this one. I just think that dog money on Dillashaw all day. But I get it with, you could sit for 5 rounds, watch Sterling backpack him for most of it and accrue some points. So I'll let you take this one away, Josh. What's your take? Sterling, Dillashaw is the dog, the vet, a little bit of steroids in the past, but that's behind him. What's your take?
No, steroids.
That shit ain't behind him, dude. For a dog, I would take Dillashaw for sure as the betting man. This is a fight that I think is my first fight I'm actually cheering for Aljo to win. I really hope he does pull up. I don't think TJ deserves this shit. It comes back after however many years suspension for doping, and then gets one fight and get to win, and then gets another title shot. So yeah, I'm not down with it. Yeah, I'm hoping Aljo wins, definitely. But as a dog pick, TJ's a good bet.
And one point on that you're completely right about, that although I've sort of backed TJ, what he's done now, and especially from your guy's angle as a fighter, I get it. But with TJ, he's done what he's done. He gets his shot. And then Aldo pretty much loses his last chance in the win to a guy who doesn't even want to fight for the belt. Who doesn't even want to fight his friend for the belt. It was a wasted fucking end to a career that was so amazing and now TJ Dillashaw gets this look. So from that angle, I'm fully with you on this. Aaron, you take it away. What's your angle in this fight?
Yeah, like you said, Aljo's got the backpack. That's kind of his go-to. I don't know. I'm interested to see if just TJ's footwork can keep Aljo off the legs. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I don't know. I'm gonna lean towards TJ. I think maybe he's kind of stays on the outside, uses footwork and shit, and picks him apart.
For sure, and I think the scrambles may be the difference, but I'm excited for the fight either way. Last fight that we will talk about, Charles Oliveira against Islam Makhachev. Everybody can make the argument as to the pedigree of fight or as he fought, the strength of schedule to get this shot, but Islam is the real deal as far as what you see in the cage. Oliveira is just, I don't know, he's like a serial killer in there, man. He's a murderer. The guy likes it to get bloody, and then he goes in for the kill. Right now, I don't have the current line, and it's farther ahead, so I'm not as worried about the lines, just more the breakdown. I really want you guys to dig into this one for me just to finish it up. Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev. Josh, you take this one away. Is it jiu-jitsu? Is it dominant grappling and wrestling? Be a submission from Oliveira, or is it going to be dominant grappling and wrestling from Makhachev? What's your take on this one?
I've seen the odds, and I would put money down on Oliveira because it is that close, and he's just on a different realm right now. The way his mentality is when he goes in the cage, and even when he gets dropped in fights, it's like he's not hurt at all. He just drops down into his guard and hopes you come down there. With Islam, I think he's obviously I think he's going to look to wrestle, and he's looking to pound on top. Oliveira has had gas issues in the past. It's been a while, but he has faded as the rounds go on, especially against wrestling heavy guys. So I think that will be a factor. I hope Oliveira wins. I'm cheering for him. But if I had to pick who I think is going to win, I'm going to go towards Islam.
Okay, Aaron.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Oliveira does fights a little bit sloppy almost sometimes. He gets caught, he gets dropped, he gets taken down. I don't think Makhachev makes too many mistakes. I think he can kind of grind him out, stay heavy on top, and play it safe.